I'm going to show you guys how I created this sci-fi outer space explosion sound. So yesterday I was scrolling on YouTube and I was trying to find like explosion sounds in space, and I couldn't really find one that I was satisfied with, so I figured, hey, I'm just gonna make one from scratch and then show you guys my process. And I didn't really use any samples for this. The only samples that I used was when I was recording the faceplant preset into a separate audio track. So yeah, like I said, I just want to show you guys my process, what I did, and maybe it'll help you guys on your sound design journey. I'm just going to dive right into it and show you guys what I did. So the first thing that I was working on when creating this explosion effect was the bass drop part. And this was actually kind of a little bit harder for me to recreate. For some reason, I couldn't get the bass drop right, but after experimenting and tweaking with different audio effects and messing around with the harmonic on the sine wave and working with the envelopes, I was finally able to get a sound I was satisfied with. So this is the faceplant preset, and if I go ahead and turn all of these effects off, it sounds like that. So inside of here, it's just a sine wave. The pitch drop happens with the harmonic. I added a noise layer group with a high pass filter. This first LFO right here is for the pitch drop. This is for the modulation of the noise, for the volume. And then this is just the overall volume of the sound. And as you can see, I have a distortion, a filter, and a gain for the audio effects. And this is pretty much the sound. Oh, I also went ahead and automated the pitch wheel. This macro isn't really doing anything, so I can just go ahead and delete this. The effects that I added was a saturator, EQ8, an audio effects rack with reverb parallel processing, and then a compressor. So for the saturator, I just went ahead and drove the signal up even more. Then for the EQ8, I did some automation, kind of like a low pass filter cut thing here, and then I also cut the lows with a high pass, so it sounds like this. And so yeah, it's just a little filter automation. Then for the audio effects rack, I have a reverb set to 100% and at -11 decibels. And then I created another signal here with no audio effects on it. And these are my settings for the reverb if you want to go ahead and take a look at that. I just turned the decay up and the pre-delay down. And then for the input filter, I just turned the Q up. So yeah, I just did a little bit of tweaking. And so it sounds like this. And then for the compressor, I just went ahead and really squished the heck out of the sound. So the threshold is at -30 decibels. And my attack is kind of fast, so there really isn't much of a transient. And then for the release, it's at 194 milliseconds. I have the output gain at 7 decibels. I even turned on look ahead. And so once I was done with this first track, I went ahead and recorded it into a separate audio track. So I'm going to turn this off. And it sounds like this. So it's pretty low in volume. I didn't really turn it up just because when I added it to this processing group here, I added a lot of audio effects, which kind of boosted the sound. Then I went ahead and dragged it into this group here called process. And so this is the sample. Oh, it's got all the effects on it. I'm going to go ahead and turn those off really quickly. So yeah, just the regular audio recording. I have this multi-pass inside of the audio track, and inside of here I added a filter. I did a very narrow peak filter to add a resonance to the signal, so it kind of sounds like this. I don't know if you can hear it too much. There's definitely a resonance going on. Then I added a frequency shifter and pitched it down, and I also went ahead and turned down the gain by -10 decibels. I did add a macro because I think I was going to do some automation, but I decided not to, so I just left it as is. And these were controlling the filter cutoffs. And so after that, I did this sort of reverse effect to kind of add my own little like twist to the explosion sound and to kind of build up tension a little bit. And so this sounds like this. I'm going to go ahead and put a utility on this and turn it up just so you can hear it, because with all the effects inside of the group, once I turn them on, it really boosts the signal. I have those off, so I'm just going to turn this up. And so it sounds like this. And so it's just a analog filter sweeping up, and I can show you what it looks like inside of the faceplant preset. I have a macro here controlling a filter, and this is controlling the amount of phase modulation for the analog. So I have two analog generators here, and I have one modulating the carrier, and I turned the harmonic up to 3. And I also have some audio effects here, distortion, a shaper, filter for the automation, and a very narrow band pass. And so yeah, that's what's inside of this reverse track, just adding like a sweep. So now I'm going to show you the effects inside of this group. Inside of here I have a multipass, OTT, EQ8, shifter, utility, and a limiter. And then for the multipass, I just have a shaper, and I went ahead and split the frequency up. So this first band is around like 1106 hertz. Let me go ahead and turn the drop on. So yeah, it just distorts the high end of the signal by a lot. So without the multipass, it sounds like this. And then with it sounds like this. Then I have an OTT here to bring out the signal even more. The amount's set to 34%. Then I have an EQ8, did a little bit of mixing in here. As you can see, I did a dip around 144 Hertz, and I boosted around 26 Hertz, and did a high pass cut around 14 Hertz. And so it sounds like this. Then I went ahead and did some automation with the fine tune inside of this shifter. And I'm just going to show you what that looks like really quickly. And so the fine tune is turned up all the way for the beginning part of the sample, creating that like resonant sweep thing. And then it just pitches down for the drop part, which is pretty nice. Adds this bass drop sound effect. And then for the utility, I just went ahead and did some automation with this for the recording. And this is what it looks like. So it swoops up, then it's silent for this part, then it finally comes back in for the bass drop. And as you can see, I did a little bit of an attack here with the volume. And I really like the way that sounded. And then of course the last thing that I added here was a limiter. And so afterwards I went ahead and recorded this group and put it inside of another audio track. So I'm going to turn this off. And this was the final sample that I got from the recording. And so yeah, that was my process for creating a explosion in space sound effect. I also wanted to show you guys something really quickly with the bass drop sample here. If you turn the warp off and you mess with the pitch, it could make a pretty cool percussion noise. Or I guess you could turn it down even more to create some sort of weird Foley sound. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Adios.